Little Elena was only 7 years old. That day, she had just returned from her new school, threw off her apron, and ran to join her friends waiting outside to play. When her mother warned, "Don't go far from the front of the house, Elena," responded with a hand gesture meaning, "Okay," and dashed outside. She was born in Naples because of her father's job, but they had recently moved to Milan, where she adapted easily, perhaps because it was her family's hometown. Although she sometimes argued with her parents, she had a happy life with them. However, the little fights Elena thought were just that were actually much more serious tensions. Then one day in September 1999, the calm life of the Rossi family was completely overturned. Little Elena's beloved father Marco, in a fight, killed her mother Sophia, whom he loved dearly. Her father's angry crime left her both motherless and fatherless. From then on, Elena's life passed as an outcast in the homes of her aunt, uncle, and uncle by marriage. Her relatives did not separate her from their children, but nothing could replace a mother's and father's affection. Perhaps that's why Elena's hunger for love never faded. The trauma she experienced at such a young age caused her to struggle in school. When her relatives moved to Milan, she followed them. She had no other choice. After finishing primary school, she couldn't continue her education. Maybe because of the trauma, or maybe because no one thought an outcast needed to study further. To avoid burdening her relatives more and to start a new life, she began working in textile workshops, becoming the woman of her own age. Us earning her own money made her feel better. But her real desire was to live in her own home and be the woman of that house. While dreaming of this, she met Luca Bianchi. He was also from Milan, from a small town in northern Italy. Both their families came from a small village, and Elena's grandmother there was the person she loved most in her life. Neither Milan nor her new working life eased her longing for her grandmother. While feeling this way, she started to like the attention Luca, her uncle's brother-in-law's son, showed her. Although she initially ignored his invitations to meet, she eventually couldn't resist. Perhaps Luca was the prince on the white horse she had dreamed of. He was from a familiar and trusted family. Feeling secure, she opened her heart and reportedly her body soon after. With Luca's words, "We will get married anyway," and the longing to escape being an outcast, she became a partner in his pink-shuttered home dreams, wedding with a religious ceremony. However, as soon as Elena's relatives heard about their relationship, they insisted on marriage. The Bianchi family realized there was nothing they could do when they heard their son, who couldn't hold a job for more than a few days and was called a loafer by neighbors, was dating Elena and that things were already serious. They decided the only thing to do was to protect the girl's honor. They hurriedly asked Elena's uncle for her hand. The girl's side did not hesitate and was very grateful. The Bianchi family rented a small local cafe in their neighborhood, formerly a coffee house, and the wedding took place there. Both were 17 when they married, so they couldn't have an official civil marriage. For the time being, they married through a religious ceremony. Right after the wedding, they started living in Luca's family home in Milan. Luca's father was a construction machinery operator and had 4 other children. Luca worked when he found a job. Otherwise, he stayed at home. Elena did not complain about living with her husband's family at first, but soon realized Luca would not keep his promises. She was not in her own home, but someone else's, still an outcast, perhaps because she didn't know how to protect herself. She became pregnant right after marriage and hid it from her husband and his family. Her only security was the money she earned by working after marriage. But her husband's long hours of sleeping and not looking for work increasingly upset her. She entered the 3rd month of her marriage with these questions in her mind. Let's change our life, Elena. Bianchi started 2008 in her new family home. On January 11th, after much thought, she made a decision and left the house. She told those at home, "I'm going to work." She did go to work, but only to collect her salary. As soon as she got paid, she went to the bus station in Milan and boarded the first bus heading north. Her goal was to see her dearly missed grandmother and to put into action, somewhat forcibly, what she had long told her husband: "Let's change our life." This way, her beloved husband would worry about her, miss her, and do what she wanted so he wouldn't lose her. Luca went mad when his wife didn't return home that night. He couldn't find her anywhere, and his coworkers didn't know where she had gone. His family found it unforgivable that the young bride had left without telling anyone. Luca couldn't reach Elena for 3 days. On the third day, Elena called her husband from the north and told him not to worry. After everything happened, Luca told the police, "Elena said to me, 'You come too. I don't want to go back to that house. We are almost 18. We will have a civil marriage, rent a place here, find work, and live on our own.'" No one knows what Elena experienced or did while in the north. Maybe her elderly grandmother said, "If you're so unhappy there, go and bring your husband too." Or maybe no one supported her. Because on January 16th, Elena called her husband to say she was on her way back to Milan and asked him to meet her at the bus stop early morning. According to what was told, she intended to convince her husband, but she didn't know it was the end for her. Despite her family's warnings, "We don't want that bride. Don't go, don't meet her." Luca waited at the bus stop early morning. Elena got off the bus without luggage. She probably intended to return immediately. Since she didn't want to go home either, it was clear she was determined to burn her bridges. When Luca saw that she did not want to go home, he tried to convince her by talking. He was unemployed with barely any money for a taxi. They started walking from the bus stop toward the outskirts of the city. Elena said Noah, not Prophet. They walked for a long time. Maybe it was a place where they had met before. They reached a secluded area known as Kiflik Street, a dead end that even policemen with guns on their hips avoided walking alone. The area was densely wooded, and from the street no one could see inside. How they got up to the rocky spot above and what they talked about there only they knew. But soon, Luca lost patience with Elena's stubbornness and took off his scarf, wrapped it tightly around her neck, and squeezed. He squeezed, 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 until she became motionless. When he let go, the young woman fell onto the rocks, like an empty sack hiding the BOD way when Elena's body was found. The injuries on her head and face were determined to be caused by rubbing against the sharp edges of the rocks. Luca pulled the body onto the long grass beside the rocky area. The love story that had begun with hope ended with him becoming a murderer. Elena had paid with her life for the rebellion she felt as an outcast, and she was 2.5 months pregnant. The young woman who came to bring her prince and dreams to the city left her dreams at the foot of the bridge in the first hours of her arrival in Milan. She was an outcast and had no refuge in life. When Luca realized what he had done, he went to his relative's home in the city and called his father, saying, "I killed Elena." But he failed to hide the body because passers-by found it and reported it. 2 scarves were found on the body, one worn by Elena for warmth, and the other, the one her husband used to take her life. Luca turned himself in immediately after the murder on his father's advice. Since he was under 18, he was interrogated by the juvenile police and placed in detention. The Bianchi family left the home they had lived in after their son became a murderer. After Elena, only the neighbors' words remained. She was young, beautiful, hardworking, and did not deserve to die.